All right, welcome back. We're here to discuss the spoiler section of Nosferatu. We already gave our overall thoughts. Generally speaking, Zach loved it, and I did not. So, totally down to, we didn't discuss ahead of time exactly how we would do this. I just took some quick notes of things that stood out to me in memory. Again, I've only seen the movie once, and I was not familiar with the story. I probably should have seen some sort of recap. I guess I watched a lot of videos on this since watching it a few days ago. So there's nothing that stood out to me as things I was forgetting or anything like that. But I have some notes relatively in order of events, and maybe we can go through it. And while we give our thoughts, you can also maybe help me. I'm trying to look at this as like a learning experience of like trying to see if there's something that I'm not understanding, or I am understanding it, and it's just funny to me.
Did you see it alone?
Yes,
Okay. Just
alone and
curious.
late at night, and next to a bunch of friends that were having fun, except for the one guy who left, who was either bored or had to take care of something personal.
What theater did you see it in?
I saw so part of the reason that I saw it at the time and place I did was again because I'm such a huge fan of the director. I wanted the best experience that I could get, and so I went to Century 24, and they only showing of their XD theater, which is kind of like their IMAX or whatever,
Oh, cool.
was uh, all throughout the day it was for something dumb like Moana or Mufasa or something like that, some
Yeah.
kids movies or something like that. So the
Yeah.
only showing that they showed in the XD was at 11 o'clock at night. So I went and I got a really good seat,
Nice, man.
in the middle, and not too close, not too far. And I I got some popcorn and a drink so I could just really optimize the experience. But so that's so that's when and where I saw it.
Very cool, man. Okay, I was curious if you saw it with someone, if they liked it or disliked it, but you went alone, so I have my
That
answer.
that's how much I wanted to see it. I was willing to see it
That's
alone.
awesome, man. That's cool.
In retrospect, would you have seen it a second time?
Oh yeah,
Okay, because when we
yeah. Oh,
talked about it,
totally.
I thought, oh, Zach doesn't want to see it again because that's when we went and saw the Bob Dylan movie instead. But in retrospect, I was like, I should have asked him anyway, even if I didn't think he wanted to go.
Yeah, I probably would have still been adamant about seeing Bob Dylan that night because I was afraid like I wouldn't have time to see it and it'd be out of theaters. But if like the next day, like, hey, do you want to go? I would totally go see it again.
Okay, cool. All right, well, so yeah, we'll go into it again. Spoiler warning. So if anyone hasn't seen it and doesn't want to know all the details, um, here's my notes here. So this was we discussed this in our voice messages to each other, and so I don't need to spend a ton of time on it. But so the movie starts off. First off, I thought the movie starts off with a bang. It was like a pretty intense like first few minutes, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh man, I was like, he's not some of the most of his other movies are very slow start, and so when it starts with her having a dream sequence or something like that where she's praying, which I thought, I mean, she doesn't say one way or the other. It sounds like she's praying to God about being lonely or something along those lines. And then you got Nosferatu like interjecting. He's like, hey, nice prayer. Let me jump in there. I'll answer your prayers. I could help you with your loneliness and your sadness or whatever. Um, so yeah, so I know I'm, making light of it, but is that essentially what happened? It didn't sound like she was looking for him specifically, or how would she even know who he is unless she like reads a lot of the literature that William Defoe's character does. It sounds like she was just doing at least praying to God, or at least not praying to Nosferatu or anything demonic or anything like that, and he just kind of intercepted. Is that fair or accurate to say?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think she was looking for a connection and she was lonely. And I think the amount of darkness and depression and despair in her called him, you know, like she was easy to access um, from his perspective because she was so dark and so lonely. And, he sort of preyed on her. So it was easy
Yeah.
for him to sort of intercept and get right in there and be all up on her.
Okay. Yeah. So just as a kind of like a general thing, again, I love the entire cast. I think she's a good actress, and I've enjoyed seeing her in other things like Tusk, where she uh, with Kevin Smith's daughter played some Canadian girls. But um, in and every movie can have its own rules, but just from a logical perspective, most of the time in these, horror movies, or there's any kind of evil aspect of it, normally someone has to kind of invite that type of thing in there. And I guess she was asking for some sort of comfort, was I think the word that
Yeah.
they was using. But it did seem a little bit odd to me that without explicitly trying to go into some sort of evil thing that happened. But I'll let that go. But that was something that I noticed. It was still a cool sequence in terms of like the dream that she had and the jump scare where it cuts to him like putting his hand on her throat or something like that. So
Yes.
so I thought the horror and the jump aspect part was cool, but I was a little bit kind of confused off the bat. But I was like, okay, I'll still roll with it. And that was kind of like for the, I don't know, at least half of the movie, if not longer. I was like, okay, it's gonna get better. I'm gonna enjoy the more. But let's see. After that, so okay, so she does that, and it's the timelines in general in the movie are a little bit were a little bit hard for me to follow. She gets it's unclear. So after that happens, she gets married. It's unclear to me like how long she had these dreams of Nosferatu before getting married. Maybe it's not that important, but she gets married. It seems like I don't know if they've been married for a long time or a short time, but they seem really into each other. And then he's I don't know if he works at a bank or he's a real estate guy or something like that, but his boss is like, hey, we need you to go do this paperwork and travel really far. And I think he said it was a 6-week trip. So I don't know if that's 3 weeks to and 2 weeks 3 weeks back, but something like that. And so he goes, and it's Nosferatu, or the Count in disguise, and Nosferatu's like, oh dang it! I guess I should say what happens first, and then maybe try to understand the logic. So he goes there, has some paperwork for some house or big mansion or something or castle that he's buying, and he signs it, and then Nosferatu basically, I guess I don't know if he changed the documentation or something like that, to where he like tricked it to like made it so their marriage is not valid anymore, and that gives him an in now. And then he sucks some of the blood on the guy for a couple nights, but doesn't kill him or anything. So my thought was like at that time, like, okay, why did Nosferatu wait for her to get married? Unless she got married the next day or something. He's like, oh, I didn't know that was happening that fast. Like when she invited him in, I don't know why he didn't just take action then. So anyway, he waited. She got married, so I thought that was kind of funny. And then he's like, "Oh, she's married now. I can't do my evil stuff because I guess this legal marriage is too much for me to overcome. So I'm going to trick her husband into a fake real estate deal and sign something so his marriage is not valid." The idea of him like thinking about that and like preparing the paperwork and and that being the difference of him being able to intervene with her because he respects marriage so much, or maybe it's holy or something like that. That am I understanding that correctly, or am I missing something? And like that just seems really funny to me.
I totally agree. I felt like that, if you don't know the story, could have been explained a little bit more, because I wasn't sure if he was under his spell. He just signed it. If it was legitimately him being like, "Yeah, you can have her," or "Yeah, I'm not married," or if it was just like, "Yeah, here's the document for your fucking house." Like, you're bringing me here just to like possess me and get me fucked up, so you have access then to my wife. I think it was more of that. I don't think it was like he he needed him to like sign her over, because I didn't get any like prerequisite that it was like, if you want this shit, you gotta make sure that she's not legally married or something. Like, I didn't get that that feeling. So I feel like the document that he signed was legitimately for the like castle or land. Um, so yeah, there was some gray area
Oh, okay.
with that part, but I was willing to let it go and be like, I'll look into this later and see if it explains it. I don't know that it did so much, but just the way things sort of happened from there, it seemed that like, okay, this had to have happened. You know, he had to be the one to go there. That was consistent at least with the first Nosferatu.
Okay. Yeah. So if anyone in the comments has more information and can leave a comment and let us know, that'd be great. And I like your idea of it, the documentation being legitimate and that not being like him trick like swapping a line and it saying instead of buying a house, he's buying his wife or something like that. Because
Mhm.
then I'm like, this guy, this is literally this guy's job. He didn't read the document before he signed it.
He had 6 weeks to read that damn thing. What the heck?
Yeah, yeah. It's not like he was on his iPhone like on the ride up. So, oh, and you know, it's something I didn't write down, but I thought was again kind of funny. He stops at a hotel along the way. This is the one. This is one of the parts where I didn't think the acting was the greatest, or it kind of took me out of it. There's like this group of when he's stopping at a hotel along the way, and there's all these weird people like run like hanging around him and dancing around him and playing music and like staring at him in a really weird way. That felt like extra goofy to me in terms of like I don't know. It just didn't seem realistic. I know it's meant. I get what they're trying to go for in terms of being intimidating in a weird place and him not being welcome. I get that part from a storyline. So I thought that was funny. And then, of course, the one night that he's there, they happen to have another vampire that they're um, killing or offering a virgin to. Even that part I thought was kind of confusing because it was just a chick on a horse and she was just there while they stabbed him. And so I was what purpose did she serve? Just her presence was needed in order to stab him.
Hmm.
Like, what was? I don't know if I'm missing something again there or not.
You know, my take on that was she was already possessed, and they were trying to like free her of her own
Oh,
possession.
she was possessed.
That's what I got. I got that she came from that castle, and they were like,
Oh,
we're trying to save her." They were
okay.
gypsies. They were like the gypsy people, and the one thing I did like how they were like, "Don't go up there, don't fucking do it." Like I like that they were very adamant about like, "Look, you're crazy. You don't know what you're up to.
Yeah, yeah.
Money's money." But um, I like that. Like part of it, there was actually like a community there that knew this dude and knew he was trouble, and they were trying to be like, "Look, no." So I again, I could use another watch to maybe clear up some of those things, get
Okay.
more cohesion out of it or enjoyment. But I was willing to be like, okay, this is weird, but okay, it's somewhat familiar from what I remember the first one.
Yeah, and that might be a common thing of like it's in the first one, and so you're expecting it, and so I'm being overly harsh about it or something. But yeah, to me, they mentioned her being a virgin, and it seemed like they were offering her kind of like a virgin sacrifice or something like that. And she seemed like she was fine and like she wasn't like wigging out or acting possessed or she seemed normal. She was just riding a horse over to like help them. So, and then I thought, again, it's a movie, but I was like, okay, it's really convenient. The one night that he was there, this was happening, and he got to like see it, and apparently it happened right outside his door because he didn't like, or did he follow? I can't remember if he followed them or he just looked out his window and saw all this happen.
Peering out the window.
In any case, it was close enough to him where he was like able to like just witness it and was like, okay, that's convenient.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's just these couple parts would I don't know prompt me to want to watch it again.
Yeah,
Just if
yeah, yeah. Part of me wants to too, just to see because obviously knowing now the story and what happens, I can pay attention to more details and dialogue
yeah,
and stuff like that.
yeah. Amen. Yep.
So, yeah. So anyway, he goes there, fake real estate deal. Maybe the paperwork's fudged, maybe not, and then the guy like wants to leave, but he keeps him there, and he drinks his blood a couple times. I also thought it was funny, like the bite marks seem so tiny on his chest, like and then later on in the movie he like shows it like, look, it's real. And it's like I've seen bigger blood marks from like a cat scratching or something like that.
Yeah, like you got bit by a raccoon or something.
So I thought that was funny. And so like, I mean, I guess I was a little bit confused why he didn't just kill him right away. It's like, this is literally her husband. This is the guy that's going to stand in your way the most. Maybe he was just hungry, and so he wanted to keep him alive for longer so that he could feast on the blood. But he was there like, I'm not sure how long he was there. It was at least multiple nights, but it could have been longer because it was kind of driving him insane.
Yeah.
Another thing in terms of the timing of time, how time passes in this movie. So I guess you could argue at the end he was trying to kill him, although he was kind of attacking him after the husband like went and opened up his sleeping quarters or whatever. Well, also too, showing his wiener when he gets out of the thing, I thought was funny. It didn't add to the atmosphere for me. It was just more like, oh, there's his wiener.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, so I don't know. Is there something I'm missing there that you know in terms of like, is there a reason he kept him alive as opposed to killing him? Was it just he was hungry and he wanted more blood, or
Good question. I'm honestly not sure. It seemed like he was feeding on him and kind of needed him there
okay,
just to feed. One of the things that really liked, he said something about just Nosferatu said that I am an appetite. Like I thought that was kind of cool. Like that he's
okay,
just trying to take, you know.
that's what he is. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, ah, that's really poetic. So there was something there with that, and I was even amazed that he was able to like escape, even though he like jumped out of that window or whatever. Um, so yeah, there were definitely some moments where I'm like, why does he just kill him? Maybe he needs to feed off him. Maybe he needs him to access his wife. I wasn't really quite sure.
yeah, because I feel like even if he was hungry, like it'd be better just to kill him and then get someone else to feed on. But in any case, so again, another thing I could kind of let go, but just didn't quite make sense to me. Um, so throughout the movie, especially at least the first half, if not more, uh, Lily Rose Depp, the main actress, she has these outbursts or possessions or dreams of Nosferatu, or just where she starts shaking and doing stuff. Um, it Unless again, this would be interesting on a second viewing. Um, After it happens, it felt like it happened so many times where I was like, okay, this is not progressing the story at all. It's like it happens and then she acts normal for a while, and then it happens again, and then she acts normal. And some of it, like again, visually looked good in terms of her acting and the way her body was moving and the way it was shot, in terms of stuff like that. But it just it didn't feel like it was progressing the story much to me. Um, it's not a lot there, but I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, it seemed to be like a demon possession, which was interesting. He was like taking her over. Um, yeah, that's kind of what I got from that. I think that's somewhat different than some of the other versions of Nosferatu. Um, but I like that. I thought that was interesting. It went like right along with it. Not quite sure if he was just trying to wear her down. That's kind of what I got from it. He was
Okay,
like courting her, trying to wear
like
her
she
down.
was fighting it. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, yeah, I didn't catch that. So yeah, I was wondering because like again, every movie's different, but I was with other movies when something like repeatedly happens. I would think that there's every time it happens, there's something new that's happening that's progressing it. And to me, I could have been missing it, but it just felt like this kind of more or less the same thing over and over. And I was like, okay, how many times is this going to happen? Um, then some other big questions I have is when she stays with the family. It's a husband and wife and two kids, and she's with the wife, and then the wife, I guess, gets possessed by Nosferatu as well. And then, unless I misunderstood it or there's something else going on, and then she starts freaking out in a similar way. and she wakes up and rats are eating her stomach or something like that. And then the husband freaks out and is like, "Hey, your Nosferatu demon possession stuff's rubbing off on my wife. I don't like this. Get out of here." Um, I guess it seemed like, I mean, and I've heard other people talk about this on YouTube. This is like a gothic love story of like Nosferatu being drawn to Lily Rose Depp's character in particular, and he had that connection with her. And up until this point in the movie, it didn't seem like he had that same effect on other people. So I was a little bit thrown off. Am I understanding that correctly? Like, did he do the same thing to this other guy's wife in terms of like possessing her or attacking her?
Yeah, it seems that she was also susceptible and like weak, and he was trying to seduce her and get at her as well. But he was really
Okay.
focused on the main character.
Okay. Yeah, because I felt like that takes away, like he had this special bond with her and this like, and then he's like, oh well, this other chick, and like it didn't seem, she seemed like her and her husband were in a good relationship, and um it didn't seem like she had that darkness or longing, or, and again, maybe on second viewing I'd notice it more. And she didn't say like a prayer like she did where it happened. It just seemed like she was guilty or by association, in terms of she just happened to be around her and it like rubbed off and happened to her. So that part was confusing to me. And then so anyway, Lily Rose Depp leaves the house, and then Nosferatu comes there and kills the wife and kills the kids. And that also threw me off. We could definitely talk about the kid killing part because I think that's something we both want to talk about. But just from a storyline perspective, again, I'm like, did he think that Lily Rose Depp was still there and he came looking for her and he was angry that she wasn't, and so he killed that family? Or because the wife had been possessed, he was trying to kill them too? Um, I guess I was just like, why did he care about that family? Why did he go there and do that? I thought his whole goal was to get his main girl, so I was a little bit confused why he went there and did that.
I think he was feeding on them. I think he was frustrated with them trying to prevent everything he was trying to like do. They were just sort of in his way. Um, I liked how he showed up, and those kids were screaming like crazy. And they were leading up. They were talking about how there's a guy in the closet or whatever. So he was sort of haunting them. And then the mom comes in and he's just like feeding on the girl and just tosses her out. I just loved, because I thought it was like, I'm glad that it's such a brutal story that, it's not trying to be in our polite society. Like he's literally feeding on these kids, and it just takes out that whole family. Um,
Except for the dad, he leaves for some reason.
yeah, yeah. I guess they were more susceptible, is my thought, and he's trying to take them over. You know, like
Oh, is that like a general thing with him? Like he only attacks people that are susceptible. Maybe that's why he also didn't kill the husband early on.
possibly. That's just what I was thinking about, them being like women and more demure, weaker, than kids being kids and being girls.
He
You
only
know,
kills women and children.
yeah, women and children first, kind of a thing. Or last or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think. Well, I should say the gore aspect of that, the brutality of that was just so entertaining.
I wanted to like it. I'm always happy when a show or a movie kills kids, but because it means that they're not shying away from what
Yeah,
most stories do. But
yeah,
and man, maybe I'm being like too critical. I felt like they didn't show as much as I wanted, because they hear the girls screaming for a while before they show him, and then he's standing up and he's holding one of the girls, like bites her neck and then throws her to the side. I was really hoping all the screaming stuff of him like killing them before would be shown, so I felt like they censored it to me, but they still showed like I don't know, we haven't talked about this. I saw earlier this year. I saw the movie Terrifier 3, and a lot that got a lot of buzz because it's a killer clown and he kills kids a couple times in it. And that one I also thought was like disappointed in multiple ways, but one of which was the child murder stuff where they like did not really show. They would show some of the aftermath of it. And so this felt similar to me. I mean, you see one chomp on the neck, but I thought there could have been a lot more brutality to the kids.
Cool. Hey, man. I can only hope that other directors feel the same way, man. Because yeah, I like where they don't spare it because of polite society. I like that. It's like, I mean, this is a killer. You know, he feeds, and you know, just because it's a kid doesn't mean shit. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I like that in principle, but again, I felt like they censored it in this one. And then again, I just still don't understand. I feel like he killed the women and kids. He didn't kill the husband, who's like the biggest threat. And he also showed up after his girl was gone. So maybe he just had old information. He's like, oh, I thought she'd be here. But I don't know. I just thought that was funny. And again, another thing I'm like, what? I don't know if I'm missing something, but I also thought his devoted servant dude, who's in the movie a handful of times, like he didn't do much for me in terms of his look or feel or like I get it. He's just a guy that like is devoted to him, and he seemed kind of jealous of Lily Rose Depp. He's like, I was supposed to be the chosen one. I like dudes, you know. And but it he didn't do much for me, and I thought it was kind of funny where they accidentally killed him. I guess kind of at the end because he was sleeping in his bed.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you like him, or did he do anything for you, or was it kind of neutral, or?
Yeah, I liked him how he possessed them and he made him like his servant, and he seemed coherent when the real estate guy goes into his job. He's like, yeah, you just got to go up to me. He's real eccentric, but it's all
Yeah.
good. Like it didn't seem like totally cracked out or even that suspicious.
No, not at all.
Which I like because in some of the other in the first Nosferatu, the guy's like crazy eyebrows and it's it's very suspicious. You're like, hold on a minute.
Yeah. So anyway, so they've had enough. They convinced the husband who got his wife and kids killed to like become a believer that this is real, and he showed him his bite marks to prove it. He's like, look, it's real. I thought that was funny too. Like these tiny bite marks, and that's the difference of him believing it. Not that his wife and kids got killed, but that was the turning point. So him, William Dafoe, the other like doctor professor guy, they all go to Nosferatu's like house, and I thought they were gonna try to like mimic what the husband had seen with those villagers do in terms of opening up the casket and then stabbing him. But then they had also mentioned like wanting to destroy his home, so I was a little bit unclear about that. So they go there, they open it up, they think they're killing him. It turns out to be that servant dude. He dies kind of funny to me. And then they're like, well, and then William Dafoe is like, let's just burn it all down. And that was like kind of like funny to me. He just starts like pouring gasoline and like lighting on fire. And I thought he was killing himself in the process at the time. I was like, this dude has like lost it and he's just gonna burn himself down. But then turns out he was fine, and I guess he left before the whole thing caught on fire. But it seemed like, again, correct me if I'm wrong, it seemed like all that was inconsequential because he wasn't there. And William Dafoe had read that document saying like, oh wait, it's prophesied that he's gonna, get in bed with the woman and she would kill him. And so it seemed like all their efforts were kind of pointless unless they needed to destroy his home or something. And so he goes over to Lily. She invites him. There's another thing. He's like, I'll come back 3 nights, and you gotta invite me back. Which I thought was kind of funny. She had already like accepted him, I thought. But anyway, she comes on the 3rd day. She invites him, and he goes there, and I guess they have sex maybe, and he's sucking our blood until the morning. He's like, oh crap, I lost track of time. And then the sun hits him and then he dies. And so I guess the point is that he was so into the blood sucking that he didn't pay attention to the sun coming up, even though it's like what he's been doing his whole life. Um, and it was also unclear to me whether she knew what she was doing and she did it as a, like I've seen some videos on YouTube saying that it was a willing sacrifice that she wanted to do, and she knew this is the way that it needed to end. And if that's the case, I don't know why she didn't tell the guys that before they left. Um, or she didn't, and it was just kind of she was drawn to him and then did it, and it just happened the way it happened. So I know I threw a lot out there, but am I tracking on all this? Is there some details or some big parts I'm missing?
Yeah, I think with her, I don't think she wanted to tell anyone because I don't think they would have let her do it. I think she was sacrificing herself to get rid of him and to reverse all like the plague that was happening. So I think she was like, "All right, I'm going to end this. I'm going to have to go too, but I'm going to end this." And he just couldn't resist her, and he was all about it. And I don't think he was careful about the timing of it all because then he just was like, "Oops, I forgot that circadian rhythm." Um, and yeah, the part with William Dafoe wanting to burn it down, I think he was just trying to get like rid of everything. You know, I wasn't sure if he thought that that would be it because they just killed that one real estate agent.
So, okay. So if she knew what she was, okay, I can get behind her intentionally knowing what she was doing, but not telling them because they would stop her. Um, William Defoe and the others knew that that could be an outcome because he had read it in some of the old documents and stuff. I'm guessing she didn't read that stuff, so I guess I just don't know how she knew any of that would happen, or maybe she just had an intuition like this would happen, and she just knew without explanation.
I think she wanted him. I think she kind of didn't. She wanted like the like bad boy sexually.
Mm-hmm.
Her husband wasn't doing it for her, and she wanted to reverse all the shit, all the plague. There's no way to stop it unless she sort of gives herself to him. So I think it had a couple different motivations behind it.
But I guess I'm just wondering, like, how did she know what would happen? Because no one
Mm.
else knew that, right?
How did she know
Until
that he would die eventually?
like, how did she know that son would kill him, and that she could just make him stay there for long enough to do that, and that would work out, you know?
I guess just how much he like seemed to lust for her. Like the like power of her allure could even get Nosferatu all fucked up.
Yeah, I guess I still just don't understand, like, how did she know that sunlight would kill him? Unless it's like a known thing with vampires in that world. I don't know.
It's a good question. I'm not sure.
Like,
I'm not sure if she was privy to anything like any of the lore or story or
yeah. Yeah, and again, that would be something that I'd look out for in a second watch through is she just acting on pure desire and things happen to work out that way? Or was it a strategic move where she's like, okay, I'll wait to invite him until like 3 a.m. so that I only have to stay alive for a couple hours before the sun comes out.
yeah, it seems there had been something where she was hip to it. I doubt it was just like, oh, looky here, you know.
Yeah. So, yeah. So I know we talked through all of it. I don't know if any of those, like any of those things that I talked about, like were those things that you were thinking about during the movie, or maybe because you've seen it before, it wasn't something that you were questioning as much.
Wasn't questioning as much. I definitely did question some of the like why he kept the husband alive for a while. I questioned, I guess, yeah, like why he kept him alive, and um, that that part, having him sign off. I think it was just the like contract I don't know what exactly prevents him from just being like, I don't need this. I'll just go haunt her and just get her.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
like, I don't. That is probably something that's probably readily available in the story or in the, just in the background for it. I thought him killing that family, they were just in his way. He had the feed. He wanted his woman, and they were trying to prevent that. So they were easy to get rid of, I should say. And I thought like she definitely was aware that like if she was cool with peacing out, that she could get rid of Nosferatu. And it seemed to be like there seemed to be a sexual element for both parties, both her and Nosferatu, that like she also kind of got off on.
yeah.
I know it
No,
sounds
it
kind
def
of weird, but I kind of got that sense that it wasn't just like, oh, I'll save y'all, no sweat. She was like, I
it
want the
was
bad
both.
boy. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was both. It's interesting, man. Like how sex and the magnetic pull that it has is still like in that story, and like it overrides so much history and precaution and like the rules of you had to go to him, but he was willing when he's with her to let all that stuff go out the window. Somewhat
yeah,
of a metaphor, and some of my relationships where I'm like, hey, if I get your companionship, if I get your body, whatever, I'm just I'm just happy to be here, kind of a thing. um, and just having those experiences myself, relating it to the movie, it makes a lot of sense. Like the power of a woman's allure, man, make a make a guy do some crazy things, especially fucking Dracula.
yeah. Yeah, no, it is an interesting thing to relate to real life in terms of whether you've experienced it yourself or you've seen it with other people, where you'll see a girl who might have everything that she could want, and she'll throw it away on like some guy that is very destructive, in one way or another. And same goes for the guy. Yeah, he's this all powerful being, and because of sex, it led to his death for something that's pretty basic that could have could have under in a logical situation would avoid. But again, that's the whole point, is that it goes beyond logic, and it's a primal thing that can be so destructive.
Totally, man. I thought that was an interesting thread, that like if you strip it all away, it kind of boils down to that. It's like, wow, man, it's so powerful. It's so powerful. Even someone who's immortal is going to be doomed. That's his sort of downfall. Um, but he said he was an appetite, and I think, yeah, man, when it comes to like, so I think sex is very very powerful, man. Like it's not just like a physical release. There's so many other things that are happening. Um, even like the seduction aspect of it, which is big with Dracula. You know, um, I think that theme even played out in 100 years, a billion years ago, 18 whatever, 17 whatever, and the hell that took place. It's fascinating that still to this day, it's just same that the same thing goes on. It's like the inevitable. It's something that like you can't like no matter what, like you can't deny it, which I think is pretty cool. Now that we're talking about it, it's making me kind of think, wow, that is really just fascinating, that in so many stories, like we even talked about it in the Complete Unknown, that's like the relationship aspect just is such a draw, even for how they tell a story, that it
Yeah,
becomes like the forefront of it. And even in this, if you kind of look at both movies and see that that was a theme throughout both films, um, it's just interesting.
yeah. Cool, man. Well, thanks for letting me go through my list of stuff there. It sounds like some of it are things that you also thought about and maybe wanted to look into more to see if you could understand. Some of it is stuff that I was harping on more than you were, and then some of it was stuff that you could understand or rationalize more than I could in terms of logic of like him being so drawn to her and in that moment that he died and didn't pay attention to the sunlight. But it sounds like us going through it didn't make it any doesn't change your opinion on enjoying it or make you have problems with it or anything like that. Is that right?
No, if anything, I want to see it again so I can really like answer some of these questions. I want to pay closer attention, like I mentioned with The Godfather, how like the first time was like, oh, there were some cool scenes. Like I got the revenge part of it. I got the good guy, bad guy, bad guy kind of a thing. Okay. But the more I watched it, the more I pieced the story together, the more I enjoyed it, the more I saw it for what it is, as far as like being one of the best movies ever and all this kind of thing. So the story of Dracula, Nosferatu, something that I would be open to as well, seeing it again and paying more closer attention to some of the dialogue and how the story plays out.
Cool. Well, maybe I'll make a bet, if or an obligation. If this video gets, should I say, 1,000 or 10,000 likes, that I will go watch this movie again.
I
And
think
then
10,000 would be, yeah, I think that's it.
you think 10,000?
Yeah,
Okay.
because 1,000 is easy, man. That's easy peasy. But
Okay.
10,000.
I mean, I guess movie reviews have a lot higher ratings than my music. So, all right, awesome. Well, thanks again for talking, Zach. Either way, I love that we have, even though we're really good friends and similar in a lot of ways, we also complement each other in a lot of other ways in terms of different perspectives and seeing this type of thing. You and I can both really enjoy A Complete Unknown with Bob Dylan, and then you really enjoy Nosferatu, and I don't. But yeah, we'll see if we get that 10,000 likes. I will watch it again, and then I'll do a follow up and see if those questions are answered and if it's changed my opinion on it.
Awesome. Yeah, this was a lot of fun, man. And I was happy to hear that you had a different opinion. I was kind of surprised, but just that definitely made it a lot more interesting and, further conversations to have about it.
Awesome. Well, yeah, guys, try to like, comment, subscribe, encourage us if you like this type of stuff, and we'll make more and hopefully use a better platform that doesn't crash on us.
Thanks, John. This is fun.